Becoming your personal and professional best. That's what our program is all about, and that's why we invited our special guest today. Henry Kaplan has been a top salesperson. He's also been a top sales manager for the top Century21 on the East Coast in South Florida for some time. That is Century21 Tenace Realty. Henry, welcome to our program.
Morning, Pat.
Glad to have you here today.
Wonderful. Atlanta's beautiful. I'm really glad to be here.
It is. Atlanta is a great town. So, you know, today our program is really to enlighten folks that are here, because a lot of people think that becoming your best is about luck. They think it's only for those that are the most talented. I think we both know better, right? And so today I wanted you to share kind of a little bit of your story about how you emerged and how you become one of the best in your industry, with the hope that the folks that are listening today can take something from us, okay? Take a piece of it, put it into their own blueprint and their own game plan for their life, and that they can then use that so they can become their best. So I got some questions for you.
Go for it.
We're gonna start out with, who is the person or persons that are the most influential voices in your life?
Sure. Well, I know I had to start with saying my parents. You know, how could you not? My dad was a CPA for 60 years. He drove to New York City from the suburbs at early as 5:30, 6 o'clock every morning. Came home 6, 7 o'clock at night, and just his work ethic was over the top. My mom was the rock that held this family together, 4 children, and it was just a wonderful, loving family that is probably one of the most critical things that could have helped and guide me in my success. That support, that enthusiasm, that the encouragement that they gave us, all 4 of us, probably the most important thing. My rock.
Are you the youngest?
I'm
oldest?
a middle child. I share
Middle
the middle.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2 older sisters and a younger brother.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you to your parents,
Yeah, I
because
appreciate
that
that.
example, you know, obviously when that's done right and well, and not everybody that's here today has been as blessed as you have been, and I have been in my own life, but I just want to thank your parents. Because of your parents, right? Every day the folks at Century21 are affected differently, because everything they deposited in your life is being replayed in the lives of those that are a part of Century21.
Let me add that from a professional perspective, though, or look, it's the people that you associate with. You know, like they say, you want to have a better tennis game, you play with better players. And I could tell you that over the years, I could think of people that you probably would never know. Marsha Rand, Bob Zisa, Sandra Foreman, Bob Tennis. These are Floyd Wickman. These are people that have made me the person I am today. And you know, everybody has their story, but these, just a select few people, are just a part of who I am and what I've become. And I offer part of my success to them.
So whether it's mom and dad, or the group of people that you just mentioned that have been in your professional life, the blessings that you've had in your professional life, they've all had voices in your life, and they've deposited things in your life that you've kept with you. And those things you use every single day, and that has effectively been a part of the reason why you become the best version of Henry Kaplan. What are a couple of those lessons, just specific lessons?
I'll give you Sandra Foreman. Sandra raised 3 children in the 1970s, all boys, a single parent. And the middle child, Michael Foreman, you met in the parking lot probably in the last hour or so. And one of the reasons why I'm here today, too, is to help us, but to see and rekindle my relationship with Michael. He's one of my best friends ever, and his mother told me at a very young age, she pulled me to the side, nobody was around, in the kitchen, and told me, Henry, you can be friends with Michael for the rest of your life. This is a decision you can make alone, even without Michael. Wow. And it resonated with me that I can actually create a personal connection with somebody for the rest of my life, as long as he reciprocates, and he has. And even though we don't see each other, I haven't seen him in 3 years. He is, through his mom, he's one of the main reasons why I am the person I am, because of the person he is. And I'll be honest with you, people collect things. I've collected coins and stamps and comic books over the years, but my favorite thing to collect are people. To me, the relationships I have. And this morning, just out of curiosity, I went to my phone, and I've transferred data from phone to phone to phone. And I'm not showing off, but I want to be frank with you that I will put my database of people against anybody's, because if you ever say to me, well, do you have a structural engineer? I'll go to my 7,945 names and tell you somebody that I've touched or they've touched me, and I've kept that number along the way. I've got your personal cell phone. I know how to reach you. And I think by the relationships you make and maintain, it's hard to maintain that many relationships. Some slip by the wayside. It's been a big part of who I am because of the sphere that I've surrounded myself with.
Well, Sandra taught you one of the most powerful lessons, and I hear it commonly when I meet people like yourself that have emerged as the best version of themselves, and that is that relationships, you have control of relationships and what you pour into those relationships. She taught you that, obviously, and it had to do with her son, but it was much bigger than that, obviously. So have you gotten a chance, for the folks that we've talked about, have you gotten a chance to thank them?
Well, unfortunately, Sandra passed away in the last year and a half or so. She was visiting in Florida, just so you know, and I went to see her because she was in a seasonal rental. And unfortunately, she had a stroke, and I was the first person to be in the hospital with her. And she was a second mother to me, so she knew I was there. But she was a fighter. No, I could tell you that Michael knows how I feel, and I can tell you that the other relationships that have been important to me, mentioned Bob Zisa. Nobody knows Bob Zisa on this planet, probably, maybe, 100 people or so.
I don't know.
Bob Zisa was there the first day, 1984, June, sitting next to me at the desk in my real estate office.
Wow.
As the first day I walked in there. He was 35 years my senior. I came out of college, he was 56 years old, the age I am now, and he taught me a lot of things, but one thing I take with me every day is he taught me anything worth having is worth asking for. And think about that, you know, when you met your wife, didn't you say, hey, would you like to go out? I mean,
right.
Maybe she did, probably not. You probably approached her. And I've used that my whole life. Anything worth having is worth asking for, but you can ask all you want. So I've tweaked it over the last, 30 years. Anything worth having is worth working for.
You know, I don't think we realize how powerful our voice can be in the lives of others. Bob Zisa, right? You said not a lot of people know him, so he's not this guy that's on television and he doesn't have. But that day, had he been someone else and his voice been someone else, you wouldn't be traveling with that message that he taught you, right?
That's true.
And then the other thing is your whole disposition maybe about the world of real estate might have been different had it been a different Bob sitting next to you instead of him. So thank you, Bob.
I have to tell you that he's 91 years old. He lives in Sarasota, Florida. Brought my son to meet him for the first time. We had a really nice meal together.
Thank you for doing that.
And you know what? We need to pass on to our children that it's the relationships that make us the person we are. And I got that from my father. He had a huge relationship base, sphere of influence, and if that's the one thing I could pass on to my son, is that people can make or break your life. And I don't mean in a bad way break, but I look for him to have those expanded relationships and people that you can go back to. You know that I am personal friends with more than half my kindergarten class to this day.
Wow. It's pretty powerful stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, I've always thought the same, that relationships are the things that matter most in life. We get so busy in this world. Unfortunately, we don't make room for the relationships the way we should. But I appreciate the fact that you have and that you value it the way you do. And we hear that commonly as we interview folks that have become their best, that they always center back to relationships that have been in their life, voices that have been in their life, and then they carry that with them and they treat people a certain way, and it winds up propelling them and growing their business. So I said earlier that some people that see others become their best, and it's not happening for them, they tend to think that others are just getting lucky, right? And as I said, I think we know better, so we want to give this away. You've obviously become your best, and along the way, just like most who have, they face their share of adversity in life, of struggle in life. Share a story where you've faced adversity and have overcome it, how it's impacted you.
Sure. I'm going to give you the short story of a long story. And the story will, just 2 minutes probably will encapsulate almost 35 years of my career. And like most agents, I started out sitting open houses, being a realtor. I quickly decided to become a broker in New York, and I owned my own real estate company. In the late 80s, I faced with two sets of bills, personal and business, and at a certain point, I had to decide which am I not going to pay. Some months were really tough, and so in 1991, I sold my company to the largest franchisee and became a manager for her. My career was going great, and I managed the rental division. I got to hire my dad as one of my agents after he retired from his CPA career. That's another whole story for another day.
The books were done well because 60 years as an accountant.
And adversity really hadn't happened for years. I said to myself, I have a college degree. Was I put on this planet to be a rental manager? Because that was my expertise, my niche. By the way, I always believed, and I've read, you get rich in a niche. And so I decided to try something different. My boss, Marsha Rand, got me an interview at the corporate headquarters in Century21. They didn't know what they were hiring me for. They knew I had real estate. They knew I loved computers. And this is like in the early 90s. And so they hired me. And I was at the corporate headquarters in New Jersey, Parsippany, New Jersey. And on the fast track, reporting to the president of the company, I actually created the franchise orientation department for Century21. But my heart was in Florida. That's where my parents were, my two sisters, and I was living in New York. And so one day I heard that the regional guy for Century21 came to fisticuffs with one of the brokers, and they said, he's gone. And I marched into the president's office, and I said, will you give me the job? He's like, you're leaving the corporate headquarters? I sat there thinking to myself, do I really want this? Even the mailroom guy came by, and he's like, I heard you posted for the job in Florida. You really leaving? And I'm like, I said to the mailroom guy, Mike.
The weather's good in Florida.
I said, Mike, I have to know what it's like to be in a field, because if I can be in the field job, just maybe I can come back and be the president of this company one day, because you've got field experience. If you don't have it, who knows? And you know what this guy Mike said? He said, do what your heart tells you to do. And he was a go-getter. And I said to him, you keep doing what you got to do, Mike. So I took the job in Florida. It was a great run. But within 4 years, I had 5 bosses. And everyone was a little bit different. But the last one decided that I needed to learn how to march. Now, look, I had the second most productive region in the United States, South Florida, second most productive for Century21. And all of a sudden, she decided that's not the way it's going to go down. You're going to march and you do what I like. So I decided I need to leave. I was on the path, maybe not to president, but who knows where I could have gone. I said my goodbyes. I called Mike. I said, it's not going to work, Mike. I tried another big real estate company. So that adversity forced me to look elsewhere. I left the brand for 1 year, and during that year, I got fired from that second job. Wow. And with a 1-year-old. Sometimes Floyd Wickman taught me, you have to take 1 step back sometimes to go 2 steps forward. And so 2008 rolled along, real estate market got really bad. I was managing a couple little real estate offices, and then I got called to the big leagues, Bob Tennis. And he said, Henry, I can't afford you, because you've been the regional director for operations in South Florida. I can't afford you, but I know I need to hire you. And I said, Bob, I can't afford not to take this job. I'm going to take what you offer me. And this is 13 years ago, and that was a pretty rough path. But let me tell you something. I'm at the place I want to be. I'm at the company I want to retire with, and
what a great feeling.
It's not just the atmosphere and the agents. It's a fun environment. People that come to my office, my staff, my agents, Bob, Brian, Tennis, myself, we make it fun. The boss makes it happen. I make it happen, but we make it fun. And when you can get that combination together, and whatever happens to me is my path. It was meant to be. It was meant that I take a couple steps back to go all the way forward.
I think that's the message. The key message is that adversity is just a part of the journey. And to the extent that you're trying to avoid it, well, of course we should try to avoid it by making wise choices, but we're going to inevitably wind up with adversity. And to the extent that we wind up with it, we need to figure out how to overcome it. And if we're going to get to the best version of ourselves, we'll ultimately do that. So it's a great story that you just told. I wanted to ask you this question. Our program's about getting better, right? So what are you specifically working on these days in your personal or your professional life to get better at?
Well, it's been an interesting year. I got divorced a year ago this month, and I have a 15-year-old. And people said, oh, if you weren't happy, you should have gotten divorced sooner. And I was the kind of father. I needed to be there every day for my son when he woke up and when he went to sleep. And so 15 and a half years into marriage, I decided I need to do something for myself. And so becoming a better father, getting him to acclimate to the two households, actually rekindling a 38-year relationship from junior high school sweetheart to high school sweetheart is something that I'm pursuing, and having fun, and the balance of personal life and work life is always a struggle.
Sure.
But without your family, I feel like I don't have anything.
We have a really good example in terms of how to become a great father, right? Because you got to watch one for all those years while you were growing up in the Kaplan household.
I'm going to prove to my son that I made the right decision, and although it hurts, I know he'll forgive me, and I know that over time he'll appreciate that if we're not happy for ourselves, we can't be happy for our family, we can't be happy for what we do for a living, and I'm telling you, I'm having more fun than I've had in a long time.
I have high confidence that you'll wind up achieving at least the best father. As far as whether the high school sweetheart or the grade school sweetheart,
who knows?
We'll see how that goes, right?
Right
but
now,
in
it's all
terms
good.
of the
It's all
father,
good.
I know that's going to wind up
Appreciate
working
that,
out.
Pat.
You coach people every day, so I'm sure you'll do great at that. What's the one thing that you're not working on that you should be working on?
Well, to be brutally honest, if you ask my boss and Brian and my staff, my agents, they'll tell you my kryptonite, not that I'm comparing myself to Superman, is my desk, my office desk. And I don't know, I guess I grew up in a paper era. I hate paper. I love the idea of going virtual now and scanning, and I'm trying to touch paper less, but maybe I'm going to blame it on not having enough storage, but I need to work on the physicality of now look, it's organized chaos on my desk. I know where everything is, but it's probably not the best office to bring people to. And I'm only afraid of going back now that somebody cleaned it up for me.
So I was going to say to you, my partner and I are entirely different. My partner has never left a single piece of paper on his desk in his entire career, okay? Me, he calls my desk a filing desk.
Yeah.
So I think me and you have a lot more
I'm not even going to high
about.
five you because we're probably embarrassed by
I
it,
just
but
think
you know
it's
what?
personality.
But if that's the worst thing about me,
I think we'll be okay.
yeah, I could always use a conference room, right?
Yeah, well, listen, I think it's important, the message, and the reason I asked the question is that people that I've found that are pursuing being better every day, they're always working on things, and then they have a list of things they're not yet working on, but they're going to get to those things. So good luck in terms of cleaning that desk
I'm going to
off.
send you the picture when it's all done.
Maybe I'll have my partner call you and give you some insights about how he
appreciate that.
does it. All right, last question for you is, we have an audience today probably of somewhere between 500 and 1,000 folks. Many of them are in real estate, but a lot of them are mortgage bankers that work for our organization, and then there's friends and family.
Sure.
If you were going to give one piece of advice to the folks that are watching today about what they could do to become the best version of themselves in their personal life or in their professional life, what's the advice that you would give them?
Some of the most basic things, and I do that. Wake up, dress up, and show up. Just, because my realtors, most realtors are, and loan officers, well, realtors, independent contractors. So there's nobody holding them accountable except for themselves. Agents need to, or in particular, need to hire themselves every day. Get out, get dressed, come to the office. They're not learning at home. And so that's the first thing I'd suggest is, second, create a niche. I mentioned that. Create a niche for yourself. Something where, don't be a man of all trades, woman of all trades, master of nothing. Specialize in something.
Become an expert at something, right?
Whatever it is. You can say, well, what examples? You want to specialize in the neighborhood. You work with certain people, speak a certain language. Do you have a certain product knowledge, a mortgage product, a real estate product? Are you the renovation expert?
Condo expert.
Yeah, exactly. And the ones that are killing it in my office have specialized in like 55 plus community. That's a big one for us. And some of my agents that have groomed for nothing are top agents. And one of them, the number one agent in my office right now, she said to me, Kimberly, 8 years ago. I just don't know if this is for me, Henry. I don't know much about this market. And I said to her, this is an opportunity that you can't pass. If you really want to work and you want to specialize in something, I said, try this. Just try this. And I've done that and multiplied that. I've got 14 different agents in my office, 8 of which are just killing it right now in the 55 plus. But that's just not the only niche.
Sure.
Specialize in it, research it, be the go-to person for that, and you'll be surprised, what kind of business you can really do.
Awesome. Henry, thank you so much for
My pleasure.
investing the time today. And thank you for the work that you do every single day to infect and affect the lives of all those that are part of Century21 and our staff as well as a partner, because they look up to you and your voice is a voice of influence in their life. So just like your dad and mom's voice was influential in your life, you're now doing that for many, many others.
And thank you, Pat. Supreme Lending has been an amazing partner for us, and to the rescue many times on many deals. Some of the biggest lenders out there in the country couldn't do what you could do and your people could do, and I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Sure.